practice. They end up having to call 911.
I'm good.
He ended up leaving the stage, throwing up all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, I'm good on that. You know, everyone has their 15 minutes, and he had his. Good for him, Money Mike. But so the marijuana situation, it was written about today, and I apologize for not being able to tell you guys where it was written about. But they were talking about the Major League Baseball drug policy, and basically how lax it is as opposed to the NBA and definitely the NFL. Like, that NFL policy is so antiquated, it's not funny. I'm going to read you guys a little something real quick, so bear with me about the Major League Baseball drug policy. Under Section 7D of the GDA, any player who violates a treatment program for any drug of abuse other than marijuana, hashish, or synthetic THC will be suspended 15 to 25 games for a first violation, 25 to 50 games for a second violation, 50 to 75 games for a third violation, and a 1 year for a fourth violation. Additional violations would then be subject to punishment at the discretion of the commissioner. Now, what this is saying in plain terms is, if you get caught with anything but weed in your system, any cocaine, any heroin, any X, Molly, any of that stuff, you going down for the first offense, 15 to 25, and then it goes up to 25 to 50, 50 to 75, and then the fourth violation is up to the commissioner as far as what he wants to do with you. Now, side note, no one's been suspended for drugs for these kind of drugs. What they're calling them programs. They have a term for it.
Wait, class C?
No.
Class A, class B?
Golly. Dependency drugs that you can become dependent upon. Josh Hamilton in 2004 was the last suspension in Major League Baseball. As well, for players in a treatment program for marijuana, hashish, or synthetic THC, however, Section 7D provides that any violation of the treatment program will not result in a suspension. Instead, players will face a series of escalating fines not to exceed $35,000. So you're not going to pay more than $35,000 for your weed use in Major League Baseball. For the big squad, it's different for the minor league squad. They test those dudes randomly, and it's a big deal in the minor league because they don't have a union. Which, again, we'll probably get into that at some other point during one of these podcasts. How ridiculous they treat those dudes because they don't have any representation. $35,000 for marijuana. So
even the AAA. So even if they don't have
all the farm
representation
system.
in AAA?
No, all the farm system. Nobody has representation. No union, none of that. Yeah, so they just those dudes just get whatever the Major League Baseball clubs want to give them. Yeah, they gotta swallow it like a porn star. Whatever it is, just guzzle it. The only way that a player could face a suspension for violating a marijuana-related treatment program under Section 7D would be if both he was determined to have flagrantly disregarded the treatment program and the commissioner were to determine that the player's use presents a threat to the safety of other players. In that case, the commissioner could suspend the player for his marijuana use. So basically, if what's our guy's name? Our closer down here in Atlanta.
Craig Kimbrell.
If Craig Kimbrell and his 100-mile-an-hour fastball was high as hell on the mound, well, that represents a threat to everyone. Because you don't want one of those getting away from him and clocking somebody in the face. So in that case, if he was high on the mound, the commissioner may determine that is him not being or him being of a detriment to other players. I felt that was so interesting because last year I read an article. I didn't write it. I read an article that said this. Now, you heard what I said about the minor league system. There is no representation. So they test those dudes. randomly. Also, first offense, suspension. Second offense, suspension. Fourth offense, gone from all organized baseball. That's for any drug, for anything, from marijuana to Molly to heroin, anything. It's the same thing. But here's the loophole. Here's how. Now, think about this, Rob. If I'm the Atlanta Braves, for example, right? And you're one of my top AAA prospects, right? And you like to smoke weed. And you've been popped for the second time down in minor leagues in AAA. And they about to give you 50 games. They about to suspend you for 50 games.
You can call them up.
Boom. My man. I love it when you own it. And that's the loophole in Major League Baseball. If you're good enough and you want to be called up and you tired of playing minor league baseball, riding on a raggedy bus, sleeping in crappy hotels, yeah, get you some of that ganja. Get you some of that wacky tobacco. Yep. You basically force the hand of the team that has your rights. Immediately. You're in the big show now, as they say. Isn't that wild?
Well, so I wonder if that's why it's been some players that had just got called up out of nowhere. You know what I'm saying?
Well, they know it happened in Milwaukee a couple of years ago. A kid got called up in Milwaukee. He was on his third time, and the Brewers were like, God, we're not ready to bring this guy up, but we have to. He's about to be suspended for the whole season. And yeah, he got called up and started making big league money and continually getting high. It's a win-win for the weed head in baseball. Yeah, that's one of the most outstanding things. I read that probably, 8 months ago, and then this thing came out today that actually gave you details of what the drug policy is. Here's the deal: in America, this country's going to change because all these old people the same people who believe. And I just learned this the other day. I've been saying this for the longest while, that marijuana is on the same level government-wise as cocaine and heroin and all these other things, all these opiates, right?
It's on the higher level, right?
I was wrong. It's on it's a Schedule 1.
Higher level.
Cocaine is a Schedule 2. Are you effing kidding me? Like, this is what I'm always talking about, where people aren't dumb people, stupid people won't let something like intellect get in the way of their argument. Because it was fine to do that when Richard Nixon or whoever did it way back in the 60s. It was fine to do it then, but we have information now. People are more educated now. Don't tell me you can't change it. Because as long as it stays that way, you look like the fools. Because nobody, nowhere, even the most staunch law enforcement officer, the most against drugs people in the world, no one will ever admit that cocaine is the same thing as weed, or
because it's not.
That weed is more of a drug than cocaine. No one.
Well, this how I feel about it, right? This is my stance on it. The difference between marijuana and every other drug known to mankind, right?
Speak on it, Smokey.
Cocaine.
Speak on it.
Cocaine. Shut up. Cocaine, crack, heroin, opium. I mean, anything that, meth, any of that. All of these things have to be processed.
Oh, okay.
At some point. They all have to be processed. Marijuana is the only thing that you can just take the seeds in some places and just throw them out there, and the damn plants will start growing. You can't grow a cocaine tree or a crack tree. If you can grow a crack tree, imagine how many crackheads would be out here planting trees.
Oh boy!
I'm just saying.
Yeah.
That, that's the difference. It's like tobacco, right? You can grow tobacco and then spray out all those harmful chemicals on it and wrap it up in paper and sell it to people as cigarettes.
Which, by the way, kills more people than any marijuana anywhere.
Right. Dude, marijuana ain't ever killed nobody.
So between between your cigarettes and your alcohol, everybody's dead.
You did. You did. Lord forbid you get your nose dirty a little bit. Everybody's dead. Like, I mean, that's just the God and it's truth. Like, dude, it's so foolish, man. Look, I'm just one of these people. Like, it should be like the alcohol law. As long as you do it at home responsibly and don't get behind the wheel and drive, then cool. You know what I'm saying? But if you know,
I'm glad you mentioned that. I'm glad you mentioned that because that's the argument that these old idiots want. Well, what about the kids? All right, what about the kids with alcohol? You do the same thing. If a kid walks into a weed dispensary trying to buy some bud, guess what? Where your ID at?
You got to get caught.
Oh, right. You only 16? Get the hell out before I call the police and give me this ID and let me cut it up. You do the same thing. Yep. And second of all, you're not going to stop kids from getting weed. The same way you don't stop kids from getting alcohol. If a kid wants some beer, he's going to get some beer. Rob, you just told us yesterday you got a crate of Boone's Farm for $3 yesterday. And you was 15. And that was in 1990 what?
16 or what?
Yeah, what was that? 1995, 4? Yeah.
94, 95, something like that.
Yeah, you're not going to... So stop using kids as the shield for, you know what? What about the kids? We can't make it legal because kids aren't smoking weed now. That's not happening.
It's definitely not. Definitely not.
Now.
Not every day when the bell rings, every convenience store near a high school got kids out there buying cigars. Everybody got to get you some blunt.
Preach and smoke it. This is the Sports Kids Podcast. You can hear us on Spreaker.com. It's like speaker with an R after the P. You can Instagram or Twitter us, tweet us. You can Facebook with us at Sports Kings Live, or you can email us at sportskingsatl@gmail.com. That leads me to this thing. Former Denver Broncos tight end Nate Jackson was speaking at a forum about this same type of approach in the National Football League. And big shout out to our guy, man, Dr. Sanjay Gupta. He's like at the forefront of all this stuff, man. He's a guy that I respect so much, not only because he gave us some time while we were doing radio, and a couple of times, and spoke with us about things that he had going on, concussions and things of that nature. But because a guy in his position never has to say he's wrong, but he did. And he wrote a long article about how wrong he was about marijuana. That basically he just went with the status quo and didn't do his due diligence. And once he did, he realized how wrong he was. And instead of being like the rest of the idiots, continuing to be wrong from 1965 to now 2015 and saying marijuana is worse than heroin. Right. Still in 2015, you believe that? That don't need to change at all? All right, whatever, dude. So that's why anytime I see him talking about this, I have to tune in. If you get a chance, you got on demand or whatever, go to CNN and pull up Weeds. Weed or Weeds? I think it's called Weed. He did a 2-part series.
Weed.
Yeah, Weed. Weeds is a TV show on Showtime. That's what that is.
Yeah.
No, but Dr. Gupta's thing is called Weed. And he talks about the benefit, especially to small kids that have seizures. Like there's one kid, real quickly, there's one little girl was having hundreds of seizures a day. Like as a parent, you just want to lay your daughter down, man. Imagine every night you lay her down, you don't know if she's going to wake up in the morning. How terrifying that is. Yeah. And the one thing that could help her is marijuana. And scientifically, they make a strain of the marijuana that does not have THC in it. It has a different chemical, TBD. Marijuana produces 2 chemicals, and the TBD is the one that suppresses the seizures. That's the bill they're trying to get passed here in Georgia, because these kids.
They call that Bobby Brown on the street. That's what they call. That's their TBD for people that don't know.
No. The TBD it has no hallucination effects.
Exactly.
It has your baby won't be high. Is what I'm saying. Your baby will not be high.
That's what they call that BAP out on the street. Like, sorry, that's that BAP. Where you get that from? That's that Pretendo.
and they won't. And your child doesn't have to smoke a blunt or a joint. It's